So I have this question that says, I got QuickBooks Enterprise 19 and my inventory is a complete mess. I want to zero out all the items and start with zero inventory as of 1/1/2020. Do I need to start a new file? Is there an easy way to make these adjustments? P.S. I don't want to make each adjustment one by one because I have thousands of items. I'll pay you to do it for me. Help. It's great. Great comment. Great question. Uh, so Charles, good news. I'm going to show you a video how to do it. You can do it on your own. You don't have to pay me anything. And hopefully it's helpful for you. So let's dig right in. I'm using QuickBooks Enterprise Accountant 2020, but this actually will work in any version of QuickBooks, QuickBooks Pro, Premier, Accountant, and Enterprise. As long as it's desktop, this will work. If it's QuickBooks Online, you have to use a different technique altogether. This video is not for you. This is only for QuickBooks desktop users. Let's go into QuickBooks, and I'm trying to recreate the problem. So I pull up a balance sheet and a profit and loss for December 31st, 2019, and I can show you here that we got some sales, we got some cost of goods sold. That might be accurate, might not be accurate, who knows. But then look at the balance sheet. Inventory asset is negative. Typical issue, right? Negative is not a real number. So this is so messed up that it's not even worth fixing one by one. Just adjust the entire thing, and then maybe starting January 2020, you'll fix and adjust the actual real inventory items when you get a chance. So that's kind of the context that we're going to work within here. So let's see what that looks like. I'm also going to close this, and I'm going to pull up a report. I'm going to go to the report menu and then go to inventory and then go to inventory valuation summary, just so we can appreciate where this mess is coming from. So we have a whole bunch of items here. Some have positive balances, some have negative balances. We don't know which are right. We don't know which are wrong. All we know is that we don't like these numbers, and let's just zero them out, okay? So there's a couple ways to go about this. I'm going to show you possibly the only fast way I can think of, and then I'm going to show you how to do a macro, have a specific macro, an Excel macro that I developed for this, because I do this all the time. I have to fix people's inventory. It's easier to just start from zero. So I'm going to show you how to do that after. Let me show you how to do it without using an Excel macro to see what that looks like. So we're going to go into the inventory menu, and then we're going to click on adjust quantity value on hand. In some QuickBooks files, it's going to be under the vendor menu, and there's going to be a sub item called inventory, and it'll be in there. But in this one in particular is under inventory, adjust quantity value on hand. So we'll click on that. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to click on find and select items. So we'll click on that, and then we're going to get a window that pops up with all the items. I probably want to click on include inactive, because sometimes there's inactive items that have problems with quantity on hand. So we're going to click on that, include the inactive. And actually, for some context, let's just go look at that real quick. So I'm going to go into the item list, and I'm going to make some of these items, I'm going to make them inactive. And like the average user, you're just going to ignore it. Say, yeah, fine, I don't care. So we're going to make some of these items inactive and ignore the warning message that you probably shouldn't make items inactive because they have a quantity on hand. So some items are inactive in there. So when I go to find and select items, I want to click on include inactive. So we're going to zero those out as well. Perfect. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click here where it says quantity on hand. Click on that header on the top. So it sorts by all the negatives. And when I scroll down, at some point, it'll be all the positives. So what I would do at this point, because there really isn't any additional fields where I can say only show me the ones that have a value. I'm just going to click on select all, and then come down to my next zero, and I'm going to click on the one that's zero. I'm just going to click down arrow and space bar, because I don't want to bring the ones that have a zero in it. I mean, I guess I could, but I just want to kind of save a little bit from the process. So I don't want any zeros to be brought in, because there really isn't a really fast way. I'm going to have to enter a bunch of zeros afterwards. So I don't want to repeat the ones that have zeros in it. So I'm just going to select all the ones except for the ones that have zeros. And you could have gone the other way. I could have just manually select the negatives. Actually, that might be easier. Let me hit clear all, come back here, and then just click down arrow space and select all the ones that are negative. So that's it. We're going to start with all the ones that are negative. Start with that, and then we'll click on add selected items. So I'll click on that. All the items are negative. Then I'm going to choose my adjustment dates. I'm going to put 12/31/2019 because they wanted the fresh inventory as of 2020. And then adjustment account. I probably should create an account here called inventory adjustments. Let's create it. Inventory adjustments. That way we know what's going on. So I'm going to click on to set up. I'm going to create a new cost of goods sold account called inventory adjustments. Click on save and close, and then OK. So we're good. We got quantity, we got the date, we got inventory adjustments. It's a cost of goods sold account. We're good to go. Then here on the new quantity, I'm going to type 0. There's no other fast way of doing it. So 0 down arrow, 0 down arrow, and watch me just do it like this. 0 down arrow. When we get to the macro part, we're going to see what it means to do this really fast. But I'm just going to put a bunch of zeros here. Okay, done. So I went through my whole list and I added a 0. So I'm going to adjust all the negatives to 0. So I'm going to go ahead and click on save and new to get those out of the way. And then we're going to bring in the ones that have positive numbers. So now we're going to click on find and select items. Again, resort by quantity on hand. Make sure my inactives are included. Resort by quantity on hand. One more time, so then all the ones that have positive numbers. So now I'm going to just select all these. At this point, I can click on select all. I don't care about the zeros because as soon as I get to the zeros, I'll stop. So I'm going to go add select all, and that should bring them all in. And then I'm going to come here and do 0, down arrow 0. So I just got really good at hitting down arrow and 0. There's no way to press a magic button to make it all 0. That would be nice. It would be nice if the developers of QuickBooks were to watch my videos and and add a button that says 0 all out. That would be beautiful. But for the time being, I'm just going to do 0 down arrow until I finish it all. Okay, that was super fun. Basically press down arrow and 0 about 300 times, or 500 times actually, until I got there. So hopefully I did all the zeros. I didn't leave anyone out. Look, in the rush at the moment, I left a couple of out. So hopefully I put 0 across the board, and I got the date here, inventory adjustments, and then I'm gonna click on save and new. Let me do save and new just in case I missed some. Sometimes it happens when you're doing so many lines and you're doing 0 down arrow, you'll miss 1 or 2 in the process. So let me check one more time. Go to find and select items, and I'm going to click on quantity on hand, and it looks like, oh yeah, it looks like I missed some, but not too many. So I'm just going to add those manually, the ones that I've missed here. Not too many, right? Because 500, typing 500 times 0, you can miss some. So let's finish doing these. 0 down arrow. Make sure it's complete. Perfect. I think that should be the entire adjustment. Do save and close. And there we go. Let's just double check here. Let's go to reports, company financial, balance sheet standard, and let's date this for 12/31/2019 and hit tab and see no inventory asset. Let me just make sure that I show it here on the report. So we are not just seeing it blank. There it is, inventory asset. You see that 0. If I double click on that, we get to see the adjustments. Let's look at the entire history. So we got a couple of sales there, and then we have all the adjustments that brought us down to 0. So that's it. That's how you do it. Right? You do inventory adjustment, and then frantically you put 0 down arrow until you get to 0. Now let me show you a different way of doing it with my macro. I basically built an Excel macro specifically for making adjustments in batch, and this is one of the really useful use cases. So let me delete the inventory adjustments I just did to kind of reverse the process here to show you how we would do it with the macro. So let's delete the ones that are here. Let's get the inventory back into the original state, basically. Give it a second for the delete to complete. And delete the next one. Perfect. Okay, so now I should be back at the original chaotic state that I was in originally. So what we're going to be doing now, which gets a little bit tricky, is we're going to export our current inventory asset list. So the way we do that is first I have to go to the edit menu and go to preferences. Then I have to go into reports and then under company preferences. And I have to make sure that on my reports don't show my descriptions, just the name, because I need to do just the name in this case. Then I'm going to click OK and then click yes. And then what I'm going to do next is I'm going to run reports, inventory valuation summary. So I click on that and there it is. And then I'm going to change the date to 12/31 because that's the adjustment we're going to be making. And then I'm going to click on show inactive. So I have to make sure that I show the inactives and 12/31, and I can hide the zero quantity because those are zero already. So I can hide that. So at this point, I'm going to have the entire list of items here with their quantities. And I'm going to export this into Excel. So I'm going to click on Excel and click on new worksheet. And new workbook, export. Okay, give it a minute for the Excel spreadsheet to be constructed. Depending on how long the file is, this could take a minute or two, maybe sometimes even 10 minutes, right? The longer the file, the more the data that QuickBooks has to export into Excel, the longer it will take. Okay, there's my spreadsheet. Not bad. It was about a 2-minute staring contest with my screen. So with this new spreadsheet I exported, the only thing I care about is the item name and the quantity on hand. So assuming I don't have sub items, it does get more complicated with sub items. So we're assuming that we're not dealing with sub items, and I just can't cover it on this video. Just crossing my fingers, there's no sub items here. I'm gonna go ahead and delete all the columns that I don't need. And I'm just gonna leave the item name and the current quantity on hand. There we go. So we got item name and quantity on hand. So the goal is to make all of these zero. So essentially what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and open my macro. So I got this special macro. It's here. Special macro that I created that basically creates something called an Iaf file. And that Iaf file is going to create an inventory adjustment and make basically zero everything out. So what I want to do is I want to tell it, for example, if I have 1,500 on hand, I want to adjust it down 1,500. If I have negative 1,500 on hand, I want to adjust it up 1,500. So I'm going to reverse the polarity from the report I exported from QuickBooks. So I'm just going to do equals and then do the negative version of this field. So all I have to do is do equals, negative sign, and that same field, and then press enter, and that should give me sort of the opposite side of this. So I'm going to go ahead and click and double click that down. So that's going to give me the new adjustment. So I'm going to go from negative to positive by adding 1,500 or the opposite. So let's put here adjustment. Perfect. So now what I want to do is I want to go into, I want to basically copy and paste this into my macro. This is my macro here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this column, copy it, and then paste values. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete that original on hand, delete that completely, and then I'm down to item name and adjustment. So I'm going to go to the item name and scroll all the way down to my very last item name in the list. See how many we're adjusting here. Should be over 500 because that was a lot of clicks that I did. So it should be 5 something. There it is. 5 something. I can get this subtotal I can delete. So I should have done that in the beginning. So there it is. This is what I'm gonna bring into the table. I'm gonna make all these things. I'm gonna adjust them. So let's, once I deleted the subtotals, I can just select these items, copy them, and then go into my magical macro, and I call it magical because it is magical. Then I'm gonna go into whatever is there now, and I'll clear what's there now. What's there now is just an example. So I'm gonna clear that stuff out, and then I'm gonna paste. Let's go back in here, copy, paste that in here. So all the data that I'm bringing is item name and quantity adjustment, and the item name must match QuickBooks exactly. Then in my macro, under date, I'm going to put here 12/31/2019. Reference number, I'll just leave it at reference number 8. Cost of goods sold account, let's just double check here in QuickBooks what this is called. So let's go into the profit and loss real quick. And actually, no, let's go into the chart of accounts and see what my inventory adjustment account looks like. So it should be a cost of goods sold account right here. It's called inventory adjustment. So I'm just going to copy this name and paste it into my macro spreadsheet because I want to make sure it doesn't get messed up. So under cost of goods sold account, the adjustment accounts, I'll just paste that in there. Looks like there's no change. And then under asset account, let me go back into QuickBooks and let's see what my inventory asset is called. And here it is. It's called inventory asset. So that's what I'm going to adjust. So right click, edit, and then copy this inventory asset account and put it into my magical macros. I'm going to paste that in there, and there we go. So I got the asset account, inventory account, cost of goods sold account, reference number, I could put whatever there, and the date of the adjustment. Then at this point, I'm going to click on create Iaf file for QuickBooks. Okay, then I'm just going to click OK. Then it says, what would you like to name this? I'm going to put this in the desktop somewhere, and I'm going to call this one Magical Iaf Adjustment to Zero Out, whatever. Just give it a name. Okay, so I'll click on save, and there it is. So now I can close that my macro altogether, and then I come back into QuickBooks over here, and then I'm going to go into File, Utilities, Import Iaf File. Click on that. And it says I'm going to close all the windows. Fine. Click OK. Then it says Import Iaf File. Would you like to use the regular import feature or do the import for me? I'll fix it later. Either one should work. So I'm going to click at the bottom one here and then click on Import Iaf. By the way, you should always back up your QuickBooks before importing an Iaf, even if it comes from my magical macro spreadsheet. Okay, always back up your QuickBooks first. Always back up your QuickBooks first before importing with an Iaf file. So I'm going to select that file, click on open, and then cross my fingers and stare at the screen for a few minutes and let the magic happen. Okay, there it is. That wasn't a few minutes, that was seconds. Okay, let's click OK. Let's see what happens. Let's go into my item list. And there it is. Look at that. Everything zeroed out. Oh yeah, that's magic. Let's see. Let's go into inventory, adjust quantity value on hand. Let's click on that. I'm going to click on previews here so we can see it. And there it is. It basically imported all of my quantity differences. It did all that craziness where I put 0, 0, 0, 0. It did all that for me through the adjustment. So I'm going to go into the balance sheet. Go into balance sheet. Looks as of the 18, I had negative 168. If I go to 12/31/2019 tab, I have no inventory. Let me enable that field so you can see it. Inventory is 0. If I click on double click on that number, it gets adjusted. So so the question is, how do I get that magical spreadsheet if you need to make a major inventory adjustment? By the way, I sell this. It took me years to improve this spreadsheet. I'm just not going to give it away. I sell this. It's $50. There's two versions of it. There's the one to adjust quantity and then the one to adjust value. There are two different functions, and depending on what you're trying to do, you might want to use one or the other or both in sequence. So I typically go and use the quantity, and then there's any value left, I'll adjust the value. There's other use cases for it, which is maybe I don't want to zero it out. Maybe I just want a real adjustment. So then what you do is you take all your original export, like this one. You take your original export, and then you come in here and put a new count, something like that. And you go out to your warehouse and you go count your inventory. You come in here and put your actual real number. So you're going to go into your warehouse, count all your inventory. And then once you're done counting the inventory, you will do one more column here that does the difference. So my original quantity, my new quantity, what the difference is. And then you're going to copy and paste just the differences into a magical spreadsheet. export to Iaf, and then import it into QuickBooks and save yourselves hours and hours of work and save yourself a sore thumb from doing zero down arrow 1,000 times. Hopefully this video was helpful. If you need help, deep help, importing adjustments, importing inventory, fixing your inventory, you can hire us. That's our thing. This is what we do for a living. We clean up QuickBooks files. We clean up inventory, we import inventory, make inventory adjustments. Hopefully through these videos, and there's multiple videos on the subject matter, I put them in the description below, can help you. So the purpose of this video is so you can do it on your own. But if you can't, if you need professional help, hire us. My email's there. Anyway, hope you liked it. Hit like, subscribe to the channel, add some comments. Was everything covered? Was there something else you wanted to see? What's the next inventory related video you would like me to make? Thank you.